If the men who guarded the gate fired their weapons at the flaming truck, 10 could not say for. They were swallowed in the pattering rainfall that washed over the trailer. She imagined the guards would need to run away because the truck wasn't stopping. For all its prestige, the great arched door was made of wood. Wood that had come from a tree infused with ambrosia, but still wood nonetheless. Under any normal assault, the door might serve a well bulwark, but under the Receptites' assault, it was little more than a barricade of sand. The truck raced towards the door and exploded with great force as its birth task bid it to do. The explosion shattered glass windows in the surrounding high-rises. Its engine and driving cabinet filled to the brim with white phosphorus that set the ancient door ablaze. Braced within the back of the transport, their section of the truck had been safe, and what more, been forced through the chuck of the doorway that had been blown apart in the initial explosion. This was all known. It had been known since tonight, of the Receptites' 13th birthday. The simulations were all done, positioned set, movements planed, and all that was left was to pull the trigger. The transport cabin began to melt under the inferno of the white phosphorus. On cue, the seams holding the enclosed trailer detonated, the top blew off and the sides fell away. The Receptites stood erect in 2 columns of 5. From 1 at the head of left column, their numbers ascended to 10 in the tail of the right column. The tower's interior was just like 10 had imagined. The tower was hollow. Thousands of cells lined the walls leading up to the top, where the rest of the tower was obscured in a mesmerizing shimmer caused by the rising heat. A central shaft ran up the interior, connecting levels by thin bridges that could be drawn in and out. The Receptites' target in the initial phase of the mission was the capture of the central shaft's main and secondary control rooms. With the control rooms under their control, they would begin the secondary phase, but of course they would need to fight their way up the tower. From the second the trailer had blown open and the Receptites' orange-visored helms had tasted the air, they'd only needed a heartbeat to collect themselves. "Mission start," one said before she ran forward. By now, the guards within the central shaft would have noticed them, and just as their simulations had predicted, the tower's alarm system activated, bathing the air red and sending out a low rhythmic whine. Ahead of them was the door to the shaft. A rectangular chrome door was slowly coming close. One used the ambrosia. The manet layers in between her armor glowed white, and she jumped forward near the blink of an eye. She slipped into the darkness between the closing doors just before they shut. Before 10 and her sisters had to stop, the chrome door parted with one aiming her carbine at the burning main arch door. One didn't need to give them any further orders as they filed into the spiraling staircase next to her. Her mission was to make sure the coming Imperial soldiers didn't overwhelm them. She was their leader and anchor. 10 and her sister's duty lay ahead. 2 was next to lead. Rising her Mark III, she pulled the trigger. The narrowing stair way-lit up in grey light as a burst of demi-killers cut down 3 descending guards. 10 and her sisters jumped over the rolling bodies. The Receptites utilised their ambrosia. The gaps between their nanoscale glowed white. 10 could feel the slithering whisper of the ambrosia, imagined the hallowed goblet within her tip ever so slightly, allowing the silvery liquid to spill into her, coursing through her veins and supercharge her muscles beyond a mortal human's limits. They used their newfound strength for approximately 10 seconds, long enough to dash up the rest of the stairway, 2 killing another set of guards on their way past, before she bounced off the wall and collided into the main control room, bursting the steel door off its hinges. The control room was stationed with several true elisions, denoted from normal humans by the grey lines glowing along their face, the mark of their ambrosia-infused bodies. Before the men could pull for their weapons, 2 opened fired. The demi-killers seared through the air, appearing like grey bolts. 2 was able to take down 3 of the men, her demi-killers cleaving through armour and hitting the ambrosial reactors near their hearts. 2 of the guards managed to unsheath their weapons, ambrosia-infused long swords that edges glowed white. They rushed towards 2, bobbing and weaving through grey demi-killer tracers, their ambrosial markings glowing as they utilised the ambrosia. 2 took a single step back and ducked. 3 came from the stairwell. Leaping over 2, she fired her Mark III. Demi-killers shattered one guard's head and the another's chest burst in a spray of blood as his ambrosial reactor exploded within his chest cavity. The rest of the Receptites filed into the room. Pushing aside wayward bodies slumped over their controls, Ten and her sisters went to work at the various monitors and controls. Honed by years of simulated and live training, they effortlessly moved through the tower's security system. 5 lowered the ramps to all the cells. Meanwhile, 6 opened the cells. On the monitors, 10 could see haggard old men, tattooed-faced true Elysians, and cybernetic men poke their heads out of their cells. By now, the Imperials from the surrounding bases would be moving in. It had been deemed useful to release the tower's prisoners and use them as a distraction. 6 shut down the alarm system and 7 brought down the elevator that connected to the shaft's upper level. A smaller, cylindrical shaft came down from the center of the room and opened into a chrome interior. As 7, 8, 9 and 10 entered the elevator, she saw the others outside pulling silver hexagonal devices from the mag locks at their hips, placing them around the elevator. They entered the elevator compartment and the doors swooshed shut. The elevator ascended, propelled by an ancient lev system that slowly rose their speed and made the elevator vibrate, knocking her out of her battle trance when it made an odd but impeding clanking noise.